Your servant, ma'am. Martha looked like she'd been slapped. I've heard of you, John Tone. You're the Nevada gunfighter all the men talk about. Get your husband out here, ma'am, or I'll go inside for him. Tone's cold eyes chilled the woman like winter wind. If I'm forced to do that, I'll kill anyone, man, woman, or child who gets in my way. But the woman was no longer hearing words. Instinct had taken over, transforming her into a she-wolf protecting her brood. You heartless son of a bitch, she screamed. As Tone knew they would, when Martha took her hands out from under her apron, they were holding a gun. As she thumbed back the hammer on the old dragoon Colt, her eyes fixed on him, Tone fired. The impact of the heavy bullet slamming into her chest drove the woman backward. Amid a flurry of white petticoats, she tumbled into an empty zinc water trough and lay still. A bearded man ran out the door, carrying a greener shotgun. He took in the scene at a glance and cried, "Martha!" with an agonized shriek of despair and loss. John Wesley Stillwell's lips curled back from his teeth in a snarl of rage, and he fired the scattergun from his hip, a clean miss. Tone fired, did not wait to see Stillwell drop, but levered the Winchester again and sent a shot crashing into the window. A man's scream wrenched out over the racketing echo of the rifle fire and the shiver of shattered glass. Stillwell was up on one elbow, clutching at his blood-soaked belly. The greener had fallen just beyond his reach, but he ignored it, his eyes hot and furious on Tone. "Just lay quiet, John Wesley," Tone said. "There's been enough killing here." A young towhead stumbled through the door, a rifle in his hands. His right cheekbone had been shot away, and his face was a scarlet nightmare. The man screamed curses, wild sounds bubbling out of his bloody mouth. He raised his rifle, and Tone shot him, fired again. His first round took the towhead high on the left shoulder, but the man rode his second bullet into eternity. As a hog and a flock of terrified, squawking chickens scampered past him, Tone fed shells into the Winchester from his cartridge belt, his eyes on the cabin door. In the quiet that followed the panicked flight of the chickens, his senses alert to any sign of danger, he heard the soft scrape of wood on wood. A door had just opened at the rear of the cabin. Stillwell was dragging himself along the dirt, his right hand reaching for his shotgun. Tone ignored him and stepped on cat feet to the corner of the cabin. Just behind him, Martha Stillwell was sprawled in the trough, her face slack in death, eyes half open. Tone watched and waited, and after a few moments, the youngest of the Stillwell sons stuck his head around the corner. Tone's snap shot was immediate and on target. His bullet took the youngster between the eyes, and he fell without a sound. Turning, Tone saw John Wesley's fingers scrabbling in the dirt close to the greener. He closed the space between them in a few long strides and kicked the shotgun away. "You out there!" A man's voice. "What do you want?" Tone asked. He looked at Stillwell, who was dying hard and angry. "We're coming out." A pause. "We're done." "Step out with your hands empty. You and the women and kids. I'm not a trusting man." The surviving Stillwell son led the way, his arms stretched out from his sides, fingers splayed. 2 young women and 3 children followed. Under a sky the color of steel, as the day faded, the women threw themselves on the bodies of the dead, their sobbing, shrieking lamentations scraping the twilight raw. Tone glanced at the young man who was now kneeling beside Stillwell. "Is he dead?" he asked. The man nodded, not looking at Tone. "What's your name, boy?" Tone asked. "Tom. Tom Stillwell." "Well, Tom, bridle your father's horse. Bring it out here." "Damn you, I told you he's dead." "So you say, but I'm still taking him to the law in Yuma." The man raised a tear-stained face to Tone, his voice unbelieving. "My mother, father, brothers. You killed them all." He shook his head, stunned, like a man who has just been read a bad news telegram. He looked around him. 2 widows, orphans, all my brothers, dead. "Sometimes the cost of doing business comes high," Tone said.